because when you look at the state of affairs in this country, in this world, in so many of our cities, so many places where we occupy, you can't help but to wonder if we're really doing enough given the current state of affairs. So where do we go from here is a speech that Dr. King delivered in 1967. It was at the 11th annual SCLC convention in Atlanta. He authored a book by the same title, which, by the way, I just started reading again. It sounds like much of where we are today. In this 1967 speech, Dr. King is delivering somewhat of a State of the Union for SCLC, proving the impact of its work for all of the folks who were doubters, questioners, and haters. They're still questioning the relevance, and he still has to give direction. He's blazed the trail. There's a clear blueprint about what we have to do and the work it takes and how long it takes and the effort you have to put forth to ensure that just a bill is signed into law. And we're mad if it's not done by the time we're finished posting on our Instagram Live. It took some work, and they still questioned his relevance. So Dr. King's question can't be addressed until we first acknowledge where we come from. Now in 2018, we're facing an administration and people who are sitting idly by silent, watching it happen, and in some instances endorsing the behavior and the policies that are hate-filled, that would dial all of our rights back to before the work of SCLC and the significance of everything Dr. King had done. On the eve of his holidays, the president is questioning humankind, but he also worked diligently to ensure that people from the north to the south could be full recipients and participants in the American dream. You must respect my person. We will no longer spend our money where we cannot get substantial jobs, but y'all won't turn off the NFL playoffs. You want to take a knee for Halloween, but just, in your costume. You want to spend your money with someone who said the inmates are running wild, talking about football players on his team. But that's where you want to spend your money. While they respect your dollar, but not your body. Okay. He said, with all the struggle and all the achievements, we must face the fact, however, that the Negro still lives in the basement of the great society, because we're okay with them respecting our dollar and not our bodies. So Dr. King laid out a roadmap for those steps. I wanted to use this speech. Don't tell me about Dr. King's dream when you support policies that make the reality of achieving that dream for too many of us an absolute nightmare. Don't tell me about the content of my character when you are profiling, stopping and frisking, setting unaffordable bail, doling out harsh sentences, and wrongfully convicting my brothers and sisters. But you want to talk to me about character? What about the content of yours? Where is your character? Don't tell me about love when you and your closet white evangelical friends aren't just cowering to fascism, racism, and bigotry, also known as Trumpism. They're defending it. Don't tell me about justice rolling down like waters when your silence is deafening as we watch the Attorney General, Jeff Sessions, take the Department of Justice back to the days of the Department of Injustice. Don't tell me about justice rolling down like waters. Where does next-gen activism go from here? We have to understand, where are we? Who are we? What do we stand for? These are questions we must know the answers to. We at least must grapple with the questions so that we can decide on directional next steps and answers to the key question of where we go from here. But my word for the year is freedom. And so to see him talking about the plant of freedom has grown only a bud and not yet a flower. We have to figure out how to make our freedom a flower. And then after it's a flower, a bush. And then after it's a bush, a tree with deep roots so that we're always connected to freedom. Or what about the man whose holiday it is today? Dr. King, who focused less on hating the oppressor and more on loving the oppressed. He said, if you can't fly, then run. If you can't run, then walk. If you can't walk, then crawl. But whatever you do, you have to keep moving forward. It doesn't matter how you feel. If we go somewhere from here, we have to go. Our faith requires our action. We must continue to move. While you're in your feelings, your Attorney General Jeff Sessions is developing an enforcement plan against the recreational use of marijuana, which, surprise, means our sons, daughters, brothers, and sisters will be targeted and jailed, adding their black and brown bodies to an incarceration system designed to be the next step post-slavery that you don't feel like you have the energy to address. Well, while you're in your feelings, the great state of Alabama closed down driving license locations in disproportionately black areas, making it harder for people who look like me and you to vote. Congress has voted to repeal Obamacare more than 60 times. I'm tired even saying that. While you're in your feelings, more mass shootings have occurred. While you're in your feelings, police violence is on the rise. Unequal pay is still a problem. Donald Trump has attacked everyone from Kim Jong-un to Steph Curry and Jamel Hill. While you're in your feelings, your president is showing you the bigot he is. He wants more people from Norway and the United States and less from El Salvador, Haiti. Oh, and Africa, don't worry, I'm not going to say what he said because, yeah, we already know that it's not true and we're not even going to speak that into the atmosphere. But somebody needs to tell your homeboy that Africa is a continent. It's also the cradle of civilization. Somebody needs to break down to this dude that it is rich in resources and there's nothing that's whole about it. It's a holy place and you keep your mouth off it. And by the way, while you didn't know it was a country, it happens to be the biggest continent. How do you like that, Donald Trump? Only hole that exists is the one you climbed out of. Please go back. And all of that is happening while you're in your feelings, not moving, staying in a stagnant holding pattern, watching all of this go by irresponsibly. And we're talking about this on a day, celebrating the legacy of a man who died, moving and acting on our behalf, even when we didn't know we needed that kind of advocacy. Where are you? Instead of being in your feelings, it is time for you to get out of your feelings. We got work to do. We can't afford to sit still. It's dangerous to be still. We have to work and act in our faith. You might not feel called, but I'm calling you right now. It takes every single one of us. Why? Because we've come really far. We've come really close so many times. But it's not far enough. If we can still sing, we shall overcome, and it still has meaning. We have work to do. Keeping our eyes on the prize. What is the prize? It's our agenda via our mandatory, our required activism, which can feel lonely, but it's important. We don't have a choice. Activism defined is a doctrine or practice that emphasizes direct, vigorous action, especially in support of or opposition to one side of an issue. We have things we need to be supporting, and we definitely have things we need to be opposing right now. What do we want? Justice. When do we want it? Now. My question for you is, are we making the right ask? Should we be pursuing justice, or should we be pursuing power? Dr. King defined power as the ability to achieve purpose. Justice is the principle of dealing fairly. Why are we so afraid of power? And I know that we're afraid of it because it hurts us to support each other. When you talk to black folks about supporting black-owned businesses, how many excuses do you hear about the timeliness, the quality of the product? It's just self-hatred over and over and over again. We don't empower each other. We take away the power from one another. Power in and of itself is not corrupt, but we should be seeking power. We should be praying for power. We should be praying for capacity and capability. There's nothing wrong with that. Everything right with that. We've been pursuing justice and we've been pursuing equality. Haven't even been pursuing equity. So equity is a little bit better for us. And I'm going to tell you why. If you have a small child, let's say a teenager who's a little taller, and a fully grown adult standing on the same box trying to look over a gate, and the only person that can see over the gate because they have that box is the full-grown adult, you still don't see where you still can't see over the fence. But you have equality because everybody's got the same footing. But what equity does is it says, I'm accounting for your height, little one. I'm accounting for your height, medium-sized person. And for the full-grown adult, I'm accounting for your height. And I'm going to make sure that whatever box I give you, you can all see over the gate at the same level. That's what equity does. Do you want equity or equality? You want power or justice? We're taking a leap of faith because that's what our work requires of us. Our activism requires that we move in faith, that we do it when we don't feel like it, that we seek what we actually need. We need equity. We need power to move our agenda forward and to make this country, this world a better place. What kind of radical action will you take to ensure our freedom and our forward movement? What will you do to ensure our freedom? That's the question I want you to wrestle with on Dr. King's holiday. If you want to honor Dr. King's legacy, don't just dream, work. If you want to honor Dr. King's legacy, don't just stay woke, work woke. If you want to honor Dr. King's legacy, don't just fight for equality, fight for equity. If you want to honor Dr. King's legacy, don't just pursue justice in love, pursue power in love. When we say all power to the people, that's what we mean. Power is what is going to move us forward. We need to pursue power. We need to work in faith. We need to not worry about how we feel. It is time for us to work. All power to the people.